This video is sponsored by Mark 7 Equipment, shaping the future of all things car wash. Visit mark7.net for more information.
Welcome back to Unscripted, where we connect you with car wash leaders. Joining me today on Unscripted, I'm happy to welcome in David Delrahim, founder of Bliss Car Wash. David, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Rachel. How are you?
I'm doing well, a little under the weather, but as they say in show business, the show must go on, right, David?
Indeed, life goes on.
Life goes on. So, as you know, David, we included your story on Bliss Car Wash. It was our profile for the January 2021 or 2022 issue of Professional Carwashing and Detailing magazine, and it was a great story in the magazine. So I just wanted to follow up with you, David, and see if we can go into a little bit more detail about Bliss Car Wash and its efforts in the community.
Absolutely, I'll be delighted to.
Okay, great. So, obviously, when we read the profile, we learn that you have several years of experience in the car wash market. David, can you share with our audience? Can you tell us a little bit more about your experience in the industry and your background?
Right. Of course, I've been in the energy sector since 1983, but back in 1990, 1991, I was really fascinated with the car wash industry. And I got on the journey of learning about the industry and, more importantly, learning about the customer behavior as it relates to washing their cars. So I did that research and for about 4 years. And in 1995, I started building our first full service car wash in Southern California. And we opened it up in 1996.
Okay. Is there any difference between the customer expectation or behavior when coming from the energy industry to the car wash industry that you can note? Are there similarities?
I think generally speaking, and that is probably true across the board with any business, people would like to get value for their dollars, so for their hardworking dollars. But what was really interesting about my findings back then was the disconnect between the value as the customer defined what that value was, and the business owners or the car wash operators as they thought what would work for them, that necessarily it wasn't value for the customers. And that's where I found my niche, and right in the middle of the disconnect.
Okay. All right, great. And looks like you opened Bliss Car Wash in 2019. So over the years, David, was there an impetus, or was there an inspiration, a source of inspiration that you drew from to kind of concept and build out Bliss Car Wash?
Yeah, absolutely. Back in 2013, 2014, as I witnessed the shift in the customers' behavior because of the millennials, we got on the journey of understanding millennials. I am Gen X, baby boomers per se, but Gen X. So we hired a couple of marketing firms from East Coast to make us understand about the behavior of the future generation, especially the millennials. It took us almost about 2 years. And then being in the car wash, we saw the change in the customers' behavior and the people's behavior, again, as it relates to washing their cars. And pairing that up with the millennials and how they would like to move forward in life and the priorities. And they, interestingly enough, the significant, there's a word, there's just one word that differentiates the Gen X with the millennials, and that is called experience. So the millennials are all about the experience. We didn't have that. That wasn't a priority for us.
Okay.
And that's where we saw again that there is definitely a disconnect again between the new generation, the millennials, and the operators, because the operators, just like me and everybody else, we were coming from the Gen X, and we were fine with operating certain ways that perhaps it did not resonate completely with the new generations. We saw that could be a space, and based on that, we got on the journey of developing Bliss Car Wash. It took us roughly about 4 or 5 years before we opened up our first one.
Okay. And car washing obviously is a more sustainable practice than the alternatives of let's say driveway washing or parking lot washing, right? But one of those important messages. Go ahead, David.
Well, absolutely. Especially with the millennials, right, are more connected to planet Earth, sustainability, and giving back. Very interesting. So these are the components with the millennials. And we just followed that path of creating a brand that not only talks about the sustainability and giving back, but actually is doing it. So leading by example. And you know what, then in addition to that, it was my own personal journey through life as well. And at that point of life, just wanted to the rest of my life to be purposeful. And as a businessman, I found that we definitely have an opportunity not only to create prosperity, but to live a meaningful, purposeful, mindful business. And interestingly, that thought process resonates with the millennials.
Okay. That's refreshing to hear, David, that you have that life mission. So let's talk a little bit more about the sustainability efforts and the charitable efforts that Bliss Car Wash has displayed over these past few years. Speaking specifically about sustainability, why is it so important to the company, and in what specific ways are you practicing sustainability today at Bliss Car Wash?
Fundamentally, the sustainability, philosophically, I should say, the sustainability, the way we define it, is partnering up with planet, with our own planet, Mother Earth. Is a partnership. In a partnership, one partner does not necessarily do something that is going to harm his partner. And it doesn't matter how much money is in it, because our prosperity is our partner's prosperity, and the partner's prosperity is our prosperity. That's the partnership. So, using our natural resources and, being in Southern California, being exposed to droughts and the scarcity of the water, we are very mindful about the water. So we call ourselves water warriors. And and in the car wash, of course, we have the opportunity to use a lot of fresh water if we are not mindful about it. And it wasn't so much about the cost of water, it's about using our natural resources mindfully. So it's about, as I said earlier, being mindful about everything that we do. So when it comes to the water, we had to develop a proprietary program that measures the amount of fresh water live per vehicle. We didn't want to rely on our water bill because that's about a month, 45 days delay. And we wanted to get to an optimum that not only we can answer to our customers in terms of the value, which is a clean car, but at the same time, we wanted to stop water waste. So through that program, we were able to achieve that perfect sweet spot with having a clean car and not wasting fresh water. And then the next thing is what are we using? The products that we're using, is it gonna harm our partner, planet Earth? If we can't, because if we hurt our partner, we're hurting ourselves. So that's a mentality that we have developed within Bliss. So the products got to be all sustainable and biodegradable. You know what? It was a choice. You know, pretty much everything in life is a choice, and we choose to have that relationship with our own planet.
And do you have some kind of sense of how much water you're recycling or how much water you're saving annually?
Right. So we are recycling 70% plus. We have been able to dial our freshwater usage an average down to about 24 gallons per vehicle. And that is being measured live at any given time. So if this water usage tweaks, that means goes up, we know we have a problem, and we go to it live, right on time. We don't waste any, not even a day. So whether it is a leak or a nozzle is not operating or we have a malfunction, we immediately pinpoint it, we fix it, and we stop wasting the water.
Real-time water warriors, it sounds like, right? So in addition to protecting the planet here, David, you know, giving back to the community is also top of mind and priority to Bliss Car Wash, right? It's at the forefront of the company's mission. So in what ways today are you changing people's lives through charitable endeavors? You know,
the two elements that we human beings, well, any live being needs is air and water. Air is everywhere. You know what? It might not, the quality of air is questionable, but the air is everywhere. The oxygen is everywhere. What is not everywhere is the access to fresh water. We are blessed here in America, and unfortunately, sometimes we take all of these blessings for granted. But there are parts of the world that they do not have it. So as a result, and we see that when they do not have access to this very important element, what happens to the society, to the communities and the societies? There is really no community. There is no society. There is no prosperity. There is no education. You know, there's a famine. There is a death, and the children, they don't even get to the age 8. Overwhelming majority of them. So we found a partner, Wellspring Hope, and their mission is to drill wells in the poorest country in Africa, Niger. And we partnered up with them, and we said we would like to contribute to that effort. It is very meaningful knowing that what one well does, which really feeds roughly about 1,000 people of fresh water. Because before that, people in those communities, the children, well, an average family will lose about 70–80% of their children. They die before they get to age 8, just because the water was contaminated. But by by drilling this freshwater well, we eliminate that. The girls, especially the girls, because the girls, you know, in absence of fresh water, the girls' duty is to go out and find water. And most of the time is not a clean water. That's why they get sick and they die. So they get no education. But with this, wells bring hope not only to drills, now freshwater wells, and they create these communities, schooling, and then trade. They teach them trades, and they become self-sustained. So we have partnered up with the Wellspring Hope. Every time we open up a new Bliss, we drill one well that impacts 1,000 people. So we are proud to say that, you know what, we have opened up 9 of them. That's 9 wells. And the way I do a head count, 9,000, we have impacted 9,000 people.
Oh, that's great. And I definitely, with my last question, want to ask about future Bliss openings and how many more wells you're planning on drilling. But first, I want to say, you know, honestly, thank you for the difference you're making, not only to the planet, but to the people most in need on the planet that need this fresh water. So thank you.
Oh, you know what? It is our honor. It is a very humbling journey for us, and you know, it moves us. It makes us think deeper about all the blessings that we have here in U.S.
All right, great. Well, my final question for you, David, is the profile briefly mentioned the Change 2022 growth plans. Can you elaborate a little bit more on these growth plans and how many locations Bliss Car Wash is projected to have in operation by the end of 2022?
You know what, of course, our challenge in Southern California is processing the entitlement. That's what takes the longest. It's just the nature of Southern California as a whole, but especially Southern California. In 2022, we are hoping that by end of the year, we will have approximately 4 to 6 more projects on board. We have currently another 16 locations in the pipeline, various part of it, various part of the entitlement, construction, planning. But Bliss we are very bullish about the growth, and we are working day and night, 7 days a week, you know, trying to expand the brand.
All right, sounds good. Well, we'll keep our eye on Bliss Car Wash this year, and congratulations on all the success. So thanks for doing this video interview with me here today, David.
I appreciate you, Rich. Thank you. Thank you so much for having us on.
This video is sponsored by Mark 7 Equipment, shaping the future of all things car wash. Visit mark7.net for more information.